Alright, so in today's T4Cast, I wanted to talk about how sometimes something bad can happen, and in the moment, it absolutely sucks. But then in the long run, it ends up becoming a blessing in disguise that you do come to realize. So before I even get into it, there's a couple things. One, I realize this is kind of a stupid topic, like, so random, so dumb. But I thought of some things the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a cast on this and just casually talk about them. Second thing, before I get started, is I always make these when I'm driving, as I've said multiple times before. And it's actually raining right now, so I hope you can't hear it. And if you can hear it, I hope it's not like super overbearing. I'm not sure how the audio is going to get picked up. So I'm trying to hold my phone close enough to my mouth so then like my voice is the predominant sound that my phone's capturing. But I don't know. So just in case you hear any ruckus, that would be what it is. It is the rain hitting off my car. So now with that out of the way, let's just get into it. So, as I started this with, there's a lot of times where something bad happens, and in the moment, it's like the end of the world. But then a couple years down the line, things settle, and then you're like, oh, okay. Obviously, this isn't it doesn't apply to every bad situation. There's obviously some bad situations that are just bad. They're never good. Like, a perfect example is, let's say, Kobe and his daughter. It's not like his wife is going to be like, a couple years later, that was actually a blessing in disguise. Like, no, that's terrible. You lost your husband. You lost one of your children. For for the remaining kids, they lost a sister and their father. It's terrible for all of you. It's for the family as a whole. So, there's no blessing in disguise there. Same as people on 9/11. There's no blessing in disguise for those people that were in the building. Obviously they're no longer alive. And then those families, obviously there's nothing good there either. I mean, maybe you could try to pull some, stretch it a little and say, well, a blessing could be if there was a payout for the families. I don't know if there was anything like that, but let's say hypothetically there was, and one of the families was struggling or something. Okay, it's not really a blessing. You lost your husband or something, but maybe that money helped you get your life back on track, and you didn't lose your home and all this on top of losing your husband. And so maybe there could be something there, but for the most part, that's obviously a terrible situation too. But not every situation's like that. Some just seem like total trash. Like maybe a boyfriend breaks up with you or a girlfriend breaks up with you. And in the moment you're like, oh, I'm so devastated. This sucks. But then in the long run, you start to see the light. And you're like, you know what? Actually, while I was with her, she kind of sucked. I was always worried about her cheating. And who knows? Maybe she did cheat on me. I don't know. But now I don't have to worry about that anymore. She's someone else's problem. Or maybe, she was, in the moment, you didn't really see it. But maybe she was controlling and you just kind of got used to it. But now without her, you're like, whoa, this is actually cool. I have access to my money. I can buy whatever I want, whenever I want. I can go do things. Hey, I want to go take a trip to, I don't know, do X or go to this state for fun. And hey, I can do that. It's my money. This is what I want to do. It's what I'm going to do. Where before, I had to deal with her trying to tell me what was going to happen with my money. Or, hey, I can hang out with my friends again. Wow, this is funner hanging out with the boys than hanging out with just her. Or whatever it might be. And that one also is strictly hypothetical. I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just saying that maybe that's what it's like. Like, I know a guy. Well, when I say I'm not speaking from experience, I mean from personal experience. But I do kind of know of a guy, or knew of a guy, I should say. I haven't talked to him in, 5 years now, maybe more. So I guess I don't really know him anymore. But last I did know of him, he was very frustrated in his relationship and kind of hated his girlfriend. And it was always like, why don't you leave her? And his excuse was always because they have kids. And it's like, okay. But at the same time, if you're creating, or if there's, not if you're creating, but if there is a semi-hostile environment that you're in, A, it's not good for you, and B, it's not good for those kids to see that either. See the parents just kind of hostile. Yeah, it might be sad for them to see you guys split up, but when things are better, and maybe at mom's they suck because she's the problem, but at least when they get to go to your place, it's happier. Hey, we get to go hang out with dad. Nice. We're going to just relax. We're going to have a good time. There's not going to be any yelling. There's not going to be any hostilities. We're going to get to stay up late, watch a movie, have some ice cream. And then in the long run, it's a little bit better. And the kids know that as they get older, they have somewhere that they can go. You know, maybe they can't afford an apartment when they're 18, but hey, I don't have to live with mom anymore. F you, I'm going to go live with dad. So, again, oddly enough, I wasn't even trying to make another example of a blessing in disguise, but that would be a blessing in disguise. Like, if he did leave his girlfriend, like I said, he was worried about it because, the kids. But who knows? Could have paid off way much more for you and the kids in the long run. But anyways, what I actually wanted to do this for wasn't to come up with all kinds of hypotheticals and stuff. I actually just wanted to talk about, like, 3 examples that I could think of off the top of my head. Well, not think of off the top of my head. Obviously, I was thinking about this, so they're ready to go. Although, one of them I'm kind of forgetting, which is kind of annoying. So hopefully while I'm talking, I remember it. Otherwise, I guess it'll only be 2 examples. But the first one has to do with jobs. So, when I graduated high school, I was immediately enrolled into college. So the same year, graduated in June, and then that September I was in college. The first college I went to, it was just a community college. So I mean, the degree that I have, for all intents and purposes, you can argue it's kind of useless. I can't do much with it. I think the most I can do is like be a substitute teacher or some nonsense like that. Like otherwise, it's not a very good. It's not a, you know what I mean? It's not a 4-year solid degree. It's just it was basically something that I got to A, get some prerequisites out of the way from when I went to a real college for a real degree, and B, it was because I kind of had a revelation in high school, and I decided to rethink my career choice. See, I had a vision always on what I wanted to do. My plan was to be a 2nd grade teacher from like 7th grade on to 12th grade. That was what I thought. 2nd grade teacher. The reason I chose 2nd grade teacher is because I thought, one, relatively speaking, it's a pretty clean job. You know, I'm not going to have to worry about coming home and my clothes are dirty or anything, getting real sweaty or whatever, you know. And 2, I figured it's got to be kind of easy. Like, what do 2nd graders learn? It's nothing that hard. You know what I mean? It's not like high school physics or something. It's 2nd grade. Their math level is going to be easy. History is basic. I don't even know if they learn history yet, actually, in 2nd. What are they learning in 2nd? They're learning how to write. They're learning basic math. They're learning just easy stuff. Like, it's something that you could almost do without a degree because it's so basic. So I was like, all right, I'd have a nice, easy job. And I chose 2nd grade because my logic was, you know, anything younger would be too difficult. Kindergarteners, they're little kids. Like, they're going to be bratty. They probably won't listen. And then, who knows, depending on the parent, you might have some that are still in diapers. I don't want to deal with that. First grade's a kindergartner hangover. You know what I mean? Like, they're still a little bratty kid. They're only 6. 2nd grade's kind of like a transition. Now they're starting to get into the swing of things. They're used to going to school. You know, they've been on the big bus last year. Now this is their 2nd year on the big bus. They're starting to understand the rules of the bus, the rules of school. Like, they're getting used to it. They might have had homework in 1st grade. They didn't have homework in kindergarten. They might have in 1st grade. So now they're used to having homework when they get to 2nd grade. They're a little better. And they're at an age where they should all be potty trained for sure. If there's a kid that's not, there's a huge failing there somewhere. Either the kid's dumb or the parents suck. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And they're at that age where they're still kind of respectful. They're old enough to understand how to act, but they're still young enough to be respectful and not really like get too what's the word I'm looking for? Haughty, high and mighty. I don't know. But you know what I mean? They don't question things. They'll just do what you say. Because then 3rd grade's now like the precursor to 4th grade. In 4th grade, the kids can be douches. So 3rd grade, it's like they're starting to get there. They're not quite douchey yet, but they're starting. They're thinking about it. They're like, hey, next year I can be a total douche. Maybe I should start practicing how to be a douche. So that's why I didn't want to deal with those grades. So 2nd just seemed perfect. Easy. The kids are good. Just seemed good. But anyways, then I got to high school, and I ended up doing actually really well in math. Actually, I didn't do really well in math. My first year I had Algebra 1, which I struggled in. I still ended up with like a B in there, but like I worked hard for that B. Then 10th grade I had Geometry. I think I did okay in Geometry. And then my junior year, I had Algebra 2, and I did terrible in Algebra 2. I think I got like a 70 or something like that in there. And I just never understood what was up with my grades. I was always an AB student, and like these maths I just sucked at, and I was like, why am I dumb in math? So, anyways, I ended up in my senior year, I had pre-calc. And I actually did really good in pre-calc. I had either the highest or the second highest grade in my class. And I was like, okay, what just happened? Like, I struggled all along with these maths that should have been easier. Now I get to this level, and all of a sudden now I'm doing pretty good. And I was like, what if I'm good at upper order maths and I just don't know it? For some reason, lower level maths are like too easy. So my brain is just like, boring. But this upper stuff is like, ooh, yeah, that's stimulating. So I was like, maybe I should do something with this. Math is always in demand, right? Math is one of those jobs. It's a STEM job or STEAM, whichever way you look at it. And I was like, isn't it always in demand and stuff? I was like, maybe I should try to do something with this. So that's why I went to a community college first, because I needed time to think and reevaluate my life trajectory since it wasn't going to be a second grade teacher anymore. So anyways, back to the main story. So I went there. Then after graduating there, I was immediately enrolled into my second college. I think actually I was still a student at the first one, like not even graduated yet, and I was already accepted to my second college. So like I was good to go. And then when I graduated there with my real degree in engineering, I ended up finding a job after only 2 months of job searching, which relatively speaking is not bad. You know, I feel like that was pretty solid, all things considered. I mean, a lot of kids get out of school and they still don't have a job a year later, 2 years later. I knew a guy who graduated, and it was like 2.5 years before he got into his industry. We used to work together at McDonald's. McDonald's was my college job / a second job after I started in my industry. And that was his only job. After trying and trying and trying, he wasn't having any success. So, you know, not everybody is able to get in the door right away like I did, so that was cool. Anyways, it was a little mom and pop shop. I think there was only like 19 employees total, and the crazier part is that included 3 drivers. I mean, we only needed 1 driver. Monday through Friday, it's one guy to drive the truck and bring the stuff wherever it's got to go, but we had 3. These were all old guys, though, that's why. They were all retired, and this was something they did on the side for some extra money. So I think one guy was like Monday, Wednesday, one guy was Tuesday, Thursday, and then the other guy was Friday. which I always thought was so stupid. Like, why couldn't one of them just do it? I mean, geez, you didn't even need a driver every day. Like, the drivers were kind of just on call. They came in when it was needed. So it's like, why couldn't one guy just be responsible for this? I mean, you'd still get plenty of days off. I don't know. I guess at the same time, when you're old, you want to be able to make appointments for doctor's appointments and stuff. And if you don't know if you have to work or not, that makes it hard to schedule appointments. Maybe that's the logic. But still, we definitely didn't need 3 drivers. I mean, someone else, one of the 2 regular drivers, if you will, could have picked up the Friday shift. But anyways, yeah, so it was a cool company, though I did learn a lot there. You learn a lot more in the real world than you do in college, that's for sure. I learned a lot there, and it was decent. I got paid dick, though. I was very disappointed when I started, you know, because you see all the propaganda when you're in college and when you're in high school, and it's like, oh yeah, you make this, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get a job and be making good money. I didn't think like tons, but at the time, I thought I would be making like $20 an hour or something, which then was a lot. $20 an hour was practically minimum wage, but then back in, what was this, 2011 or something? Like, that would have been a lot. But no, I started at like $14, and I was like, what? That was 50% more than minimum wage in my area. Minimum wage at that time was $9.10. They paid me $14. I was like, are you serious? I was like, well, I guess I do have no experience, though, so I can't really bargain for more. I was like, it just feels really disrespectful. 14? I mean, geez, if you want to look at it in perspective nowadays, minimum wage is $16.35. So when I started in engineering that I had 2 degrees for, I was making less than people on minimum wage with nothing. They don't even need to have a high school diploma make now. Like, that's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. And it's really only a matter of, what, 14 years later? Jeez. You know what I mean? It's not like the old guys are like, I remember back in the 50s when a stamp was 3 cents. At least it's been, it's 70 years later that they're talking. This is 11 years or 14 years. And these people are making more than I did starting as an engineer. It's ridiculous. But anyways, what ended up happening a few years into my tenure there was it got really slow. Like, really slow. And so they laid off a few people. They laid off some of the guys in the shop that didn't really have anything to do. And then I got laid off. There was 2 engineers. There's the what did he call himself? Lead mold designer or something. And then there was me, his assistant. Well, obviously he's more important than me. So I got canned. And I think 3 or 4 of the guys in the shop did. But we didn't really get canned because the deal was, well, we're going to lay you off for now because it's slow. And we can't afford to pay you. And there's nothing for you to do. So there's no point in you coming here. But if we pick up, we'll call you back. So, it sucked. I was out of work. I still had McDonald's. Like I said, I worked that on the side. So I turned that into full time. And then I was trying to collect some unemployment as well, which that wasn't much. But anyways, during that time frame, it sucked. And luckily, though, I was still living at home. So, at least I didn't have to worry about paying rent. I could have my parents work with me. Hey, I lost my job. Don't rip me off. I need all the money I can get from my other bills. Anyways, though, so that was about 3 months that I was out. And then they did call me back. And it was pretty cool. I went back. And I think not all the guys were back at first because I remember being there. And it was weird. They weren't. And I was like, wow, I got the call back before them. But anyways, I think eventually we all ended up coming back, though. And anyways, so that same year, though, after I got called back, I started to think about it. And I was like, man, though, I don't know. What if this happens again? What if it gets slow again, and then they cut me again and I don't have a job? And what if this time it's longer? What if instead of for 3 months, it's 6 months? What if it's for a year? What if they just never call me back and I sit around waiting for that call back and that just doesn't happen? So I was like, I'm going to have to try something. So I started job searching, and that's when I came across the job that would become my second job. This company A paid me just about double what I was making. So after raises and stuff, yeah, I started at $14, but I ended there at $14.75, which whoop-de-doo. But so yeah, this new company that I went to basically paid me double. So that was a big boost right out the gate. They also offered a lot of good benefits. The insurance was way better than what I had at my last company. I think I might have had the same amount of vacation time, but I think they also gave you sick time. So that was kind of a little bit of a boost. And we had regular raises. And I kind of got ripped off. Seems like I get ripped off everywhere I go with this kind of stuff. But they used to give out bonuses as well. I think I got maybe one bonus, and then they canceled the plan. And I was like, come on. Seems like every time that I'm with a company, anything cool that they do, it stops. The company, just to fast forward a little bit while I'm talking about this subject, the company I'm with now used to do picnics. I had one, and then it stopped. And it's like, of course, because I'm here now, so I get ripped off. But anyways, back to the situation. So yeah, so that was cool. The only downside to that company was that it was far. I mean, it was on a good day, it was an 80-minute ride to work. There was one time it took me 2 hours to get to work because of traffic. So that was the one thing that sucked. It was far. Sure, it paid me really good and stuff, but that was horrible. And unfortunately, I had a car that I really cared about, and I just ended up putting so many miles on it and basically ran it into the ground. I mean, it still looked fantastic. It was just the engine kind of got ran into the ground working so far away like that. So that sucked. But anyways, so after a few years at this company, I ended up getting let go. The reason I got let go, essentially, is because my supervisor was a failure. And rather than taking the blame and recognizing that, it was easier to just pin it on me so then he could save face. So I was supposed to learn a different position with the company because one of the guys wanted to retire. And so I basically had to learn what he did. That way then he could retire and they would have somebody there who still did that kind of work. Problem was, obviously I already had a well-established 40-hour-a-week job. And we were on something known as, what is it? Oh, I forgot the word now. We were technically hourly paid employees, but it was like salary. So you didn't get all the benefits of salary per se. Like, you know how like maybe you have a doctor's appointment, so you show up to work late. Well, you still get the same pay because you're salary. That's the deal. But on the other hand, but when you're hourly, you have to use sick time or something. So that's what it was like. We were salary, but if I needed a day off, well, I guess that might apply to a salary as well. But you know what I mean. If I was sick, I couldn't just be covered. I had to use sick time or else take the hit. So, you know, we were like hourly plus or whatever they wanted to call it, or salary minus. I don't know. Anyhow, why am I going on this big tangent about how I was paid? Because of that, we didn't get overtime though. So see, that was part of the weird salary portion. You were hourly, but you didn't get overtime. And they were weird about us trying to work the overtime too, because they didn't want to, I don't know, I guess they didn't want to try to figure out how to pay us the overtime that we would have been due if we did do overtime. So I couldn't really put in extra time, but they basically wanted me to do 2 jobs in a 40-hour week. Well, I was already maxed out on my job of 40 hours a week doing what I did, and now I'm supposed to try to fit in a whole second job? Like, how? And I had tons of meetings with my supervisor about this. You know, I went over this with him tons of times. We had tons of meetings. We even had group meetings to try to figure out as a group how they could like take some of my workload and stuff, and it never really got anywhere. Basically, it was consistently just me with all my work and him expecting me to figure out how to do a second job without any extra time for this second job. So after about a year of this, that's when I got let go. You know, they called me into what happened was I had the Friday prior off. I took that day off so I could renew my license. And then I go to work Monday and I see there's an email. Oh, yeah, meet me for a meeting at 1:30 in this room, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because what happened was on that Friday, we were supposed to have, well, they did have, but I wasn't there because I took the day off. But we were supposed to have a meeting about how the prints were going to change. So the drawings that we make for our suppliers to manufacture to, there was supposed to be like an overall layout change. And since I did a lot of the prints, that would have affected me a lot. Like, I need to know about this so then I can make my prints correctly. So I said, ooh, I don't have to take Friday off. Like, when I went to request, I said, I don't have to. I can be here for this meeting if you need. And he was like, nah, it's fine. He says, if anything happens, I can update you. And my supervisor at the time, really thought that these changes weren't going to get implemented. He thought that, that they were just going to talk about it, but it wasn't going to go anywhere because the changes basically would have been slightly worse. Like, I forgot who these changes were supposed to appeal to, but like for us, they would have been kind of worse. So he figured that it was going to get shot down and that would have been it. So anyways, I see this email and I'm like, oh, the changes must have happened, so he just wants to update me. But it was at 1:30 in the afternoon. I was like, that's weird though. Why do I gotta wait all day? Like, I'm working now. If there are changes, I need to know so I can start implementing them. Otherwise, I'm wasting time doing these prints with the old style because, you know what I mean? Then I do them and then it's like, oh, they gotta be the new style. And now I don't have to start over, but, I gotta rework everything when you could have just told me at like 9 in the morning and then we'd be good. So anyways, 1:30, I go to that room, and then he's in there with some lady that I don't know. And I just knew that the lady that I didn't know had to have been HR because he was with her. We were supposed to be meeting together. And who else could it be? Who else would randomly be meeting with me that I don't know besides HR? Because I don't need to know anybody in HR normally, And so, yeah, they tell me that I'm getting let go. And this lady, the HR lady, she went fast. It's like, this is something they must always do, is go fast. That way then you can't get any words in and you can't react and, you can't fight it or anything. But yeah, they're telling me why I'm like getting like, oh, she's giving me all these reasons, and they're all the most bogus, weak, stupid reasons, and I'm just sitting there dumbfounded because I'm like ambushed. So like a surprise attack, and I'm just confused, and then I'm thinking this dickhead didn't do his job at all. Why am I getting fired? Because he couldn't do his job. He didn't help me at all. He wanted me to work 80 hours and figure out how to do it in a 40-hour window. So anyways, yeah, that really sucked when I lost that job. Because, I thought it was kind of like an apex. I was like, how am I going to find something else this good? Figured it was never going to happen. Well, at least they gave me a severance package. But here's the thing, that only lasted me 3 months. Because I think they gave you like 1 month for every year you were there. Well, I was there for like 3.5 years. So I got 3 months of severance, which, fine, that was great. It helped me out for 3 months. But I couldn't find a job for 9 months. That means for 6 months, I had nothing. Actually, let me back up. At the time that my severance was running out, I actually did find a job. I ended up losing that one quickly, too, though, because it was a contract that the company had. I think it was for airlines or something. And it was supposed to be huge, multi-million-dollar project over the course of, 5-10 years, something like that. And obviously, over that time, they'd get more contracts. So they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to need the help. Well, I guess that contract fell through at the last minute. So they had hired a ton of people for the plant, and they hired 2 new engineers as well. Me and someone else. And so I ended up losing that job because they kind of cut everybody that was hired last, if you will. So out of the 2 engineers, I was hired second. So they let the other guy keep his job, and I got canned, which, fine, whatever, I get it. I was only there for a month, too, so not too much for hard feelings. But it did suck. It was like, dang it, I found a job, and now I'm back to square one, and I have no severance money left. But that's like my first blessing in disguise that I would have realized, Well, I guess I might have realized the one about my first job laying me off, but this one was like a serious one, because looking back at it, I'm like, that job kind of sucked. There was no privacy. The pay they offered me was really low. And even though there was opportunity for advancement, it seemed really slim, because basically there's like one head engineer, and it's like, okay, so you'd have to wait for him to retire before anyone else could try to get it. And then how do you get it? Who picks you? How do you get selected? Like, what do you do? And then some other doofus gets it and you don't, and then it's like, great, I just wasted all my time here to just be a grunt forever. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be there. It's probably good that I lost that. Although in the moment, it really sucked. So anyways, back to square one. So then what happens is I'm applying. I applied to a ton of jobs. I was working with like 6 headhunters. They were all applying to just 1 job a week for me. It wasn't much, but still, altogether, that's 6 jobs a week between them. And I was doing 3 jobs a week myself. So that's 9 jobs a week that I was applying to. And I got 4 interviews during that entire time. 1, which was the company that I had, and then lost that. 2 others that went nowhere, and then 1 that, it was weird. I walked in and like basically the guy wanted me to just start right away. There was no interview or anything. He was ready for me to start the job right then and there, and it was just like, oh, okay. And then like his supervisor came out and was like, well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. I'm sure he's ready to get started, but let's kind of make this more formal. Let's get his paperwork together. Let's actually onboard him instead of just, hiring him on the spot and getting him to work right now. So I think I started the following week instead. But anyways, yeah, so when I finally got that job, though, after struggling and having no money and almost losing everything, my landlord was regularly threatening to evict me. My car kept sending me notes in the mail saying that they were going to have to repo my car. The only thing that somehow was up to date was my phone. And I don't know how. I don't remember paying my phone. But somehow I was up to date on that. Everything else, though, I was falling behind on. And it was terrible. So, yeah, I got this job, and then basically I just saved everything. I didn't spend anything. It went all towards my bills. Every bill that I had, just so I could catch up and get myself squared away. And then this job that I had nothing to do with my background. My background's in engineering. This had nothing to do with that. It was just a job. It did use CAD, computer-aided design, but it was a different CAD than I'm used to. I wasn't designing anything. I basically just used it to manipulate other data files so that then they could get sent out to the shop. But it was something decent enough to get me started. It was a job, so I was going to keep it for at least a year and then start job searching to get back into my field. Well, fast forward a little bit. After about, 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. There was an email from the chief engineer at the company that I'm at now. And he was like, hey, came across your resume. Because I had applied to the company I'm with now like 6 times over the course of my entire, career since I graduated high school. College. So they had a bunch of my files on hand. And so, yeah, he sent me the email. Then I responded. I had an interview. Then they called me back for a second interview. And then they chose me. I was the winner. And, it was pretty cool. I was like, sweet, I'm back in the world of engineering. But the amount of money that they're going to offer me was pretty low. I think it was like $100 more a week than what I was currently making at the company I was at. And I thought about it, and I was like, that's not worth it. $100 more than this? Like, this is brain dead work, and I'm only going to make $100 more to do engineering again? I was like, that's not worth it. So then I went back to him, and I was like, I'm interested in the position. I do want to accept, but the pay just isn't that good. Can you do any better? So they deliberated, and they got back to me, and they offered me $100 more than their original offer. Which in the moment, though, I was kind of blindsided because I was like, okay, that's $400 a month. And then I was like, that's almost my rent. Because at the time, my rent was only $550. That's pretty low, So I was like, that's practically almost my rent that I just made by bartering for more money. So I was like, okay. Plus, I figured this got me back into engineering for real. So I was like, what the heck. Well, yeah, it turns out, though, my pay, even though I was blindsided in the moment, still sucked. So I was like, I'm not going to stay here. So then I kind of had the same plan as the last company that I was with that I left from to go to this one. And I was like, I'm just going to give them like a year or two, and then I'm going to start job searching again, dip out of this place. Well, here's the thing, though. I ended up getting a bunch of raises, and it's kind of worked out. The chief engineer that we had, he quit. So now I'm the chief engineer. So because of that, I ended up getting a decent pay increase from that. I got $400 a week pay increase just from that. So I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. That's, that sounds crazy to hear that. What does that boil down to? It boils down to, $10 an hour? That's pretty cool. Who gets a $10 an hour raise? That's not, that's kind of out of the ordinary. So I was like, all right. And then I think I had another. And then we used to get yearly dollar raises. And then recently I requested another raise, and I didn't get quite as much as I wanted, but I still got some. So all in all, from where I was at when I started here to where I'm at now, I'm making a lot more money. Relatively speaking, probably pretty close to double from what I started at. So, one, that's been kind of cool. I say this because I'm still not satisfied. I want to be making at least $40,000 a year more than I am now. But I don't know. There's potential. Like I said, my last raise, the owner of the company said that he wasn't going to give me the full amount, but he says, hey, just stick it out with me. If business starts to pick up, come see me. I even prepared a whole document and everything. He said, can I keep this? I said, yeah, I made this for you. So even still has that. So, hopefully things start to get busy, and maybe in the summer I can revisit and get more money, which would be cool. But anyways, I'm just sick and tired of struggling. And it's like, I'm sick and tired of having to work 2 jobs. I want to work 2 jobs, not need to work 2 jobs. And currently I need to, and I hate it. I would rather it be I want to work 2 jobs. I'd rather work 2 jobs because I want to, because either personal enrichment or just extra money for a nice car or something. I work here, but all that money just goes towards my car or something. That money actually helps me in real life. I need that money. I hate that. So anyways, because I'm still not there with my regular job, I do regularly think about applying around and leaving, but I don't know. But anyways, there are other things I like too. It's very close to home. It's also very close to where my daughter lives. It's funny because sometimes I say that as a selling point for why I like my company. And I'm like, I know it sounds goofy, but compared to where I was working and the time it would take to get to my daughter's house from work, this is way better. But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of like my huge blessing in disguise I didn't realize. You know, when I lost that company, the last company I was with, like I said, I thought, how am I going to find anything as good, if not better? And like, I sort of have where I'm at now. You know, I make way more than I made there. And I'm chief engineer now, so that sounds good on a resume. Before, I was just like a member of the team. There was 12 of us. Now I'm the guy, you know, it's cool. Looks good on a resume. And what else? Hold on, cop. I said hold on, cop, just because of the way that I hold my phone. My screen is facing towards the window, and I don't know. I don't need him to see it and think I'm fooling around or something, so I just need to hide that real quick. Then I could drive by him and no problems. So anyways, yeah, and like I said, I'm close to home, and I'm salary, I'm real salary now, which, you know, salary does have its downfalls. Like, if you got to work overtime, it's free, and that sucks. But at least I can take advantage of being late or whatever, and it doesn't matter. I'm not hourly. Who cares? I show up when I show up, and I make the same thing every week. And not that I'm saying I want to be late, but unfortunately it happens here and there, and it's like, at least I don't have to worry about it, you know? So, anyways, yeah, it's like, by far, this is kind of the best position I've had. And if I didn't lose that job that was super far away, I'd probably still be there. Still thinking that was awesome when this is actually better. Sort of. Some stuff is terrible about this company, but, you know, for the me aspect of things, you know what I mean? It's better. So anyways, that's one instance of what I was saying about how a blessing in disguise that you don't know about in the moment, because it sucks in the moment, but in the long run it ends up being way better. The second thing that I think is kind of a blessing in disguise that affects literally everyone, at least everyone in the United States, is that Trump didn't win in 2020. Sure, in the moment, it felt terrible when it was announced that Biden won. It was like, what? Like, Biden's a fool. You know, like, the guy didn't even campaign. He was hiding in a basement the whole time, and we're like, this loser is going to be our president? I mean, he has a very rich history of, or past, I should say, of, like, blatant racism and just being an idiot, you know, plagiarism and all this. And it's just like, wow, that's the president now? Are you serious? And yes, it ended up being very, very bad. He destroyed the economy. He wasted time. You know, 2 wars broke out, you know, Israel and Hamas, and Ukraine and Russia. We spent tons of money to Russia. I mean, Ukraine, which Ukraine is well known as being a highly corrupt country, so that's cool that we're just giving a corrupt country tons of money, because I'm sure they're using all of that the right way, what it was intended for. Biden's regime was also very corrupt with, you know, weaponizing the DOJ against Trump, which was his political opponent. That's ridiculous. That's something dictators do. The first one to cry about Putin, but what does Putin do every time? If his opponent says something negative about him in a campaign, for some reason the opponent always miraculously gets sick and ends up dying shortly after that. Huh. Sure, maybe Biden didn't go that extreme, but close enough. With all these witch hunts and stuff after him. But, yeah, Biden's administration was terrible. But, here's the thing. I almost feel like Trump losing was a blessing in disguise. Because, A, this gave Trump 4 years to really think. You know, he had no experience in politics prior to being the president the first time around. He had experience as a businessman. And yeah, he did pretty good as president, but I feel like this term is going to be so much better. I mean, he's had 4 years to think. He's had 4 years to collaborate with former cabinet members and stuff. He's even had time while he was in office to talk to cabinet members and all this. And like, he's really had time to think and come up with plans and what he wants to do and just make things better. He's also, since he's been so targeted by the DOJ, the Biden DOJ, he's had time to kind of stew over that and come up with solutions to all these little problems that, you know, most I was going to say most likely. Not most likely, but strongly reside with and because of Democrats. So now he's been able to come up with, like, sneaky little things to get back at them. Like this, what he's been doing with Doge. All these corrupt things are Democrat-funded. So now it's like he's exposing all this, breaking right into their banks. Hey, F you, mother effers. Draining that swamp. Hey, you know how you want to go after me? Trying to get me arrested and thrown in jail and all this? Yeah, well, F you, my turn. First off, look where it got you. Nowhere. Second off, yeah, my turn to fuck with you guys, and I'm going to do it the right way. I'm actually going to be successful, unlike you guys. Oh, you got the count of 34 felonies on me. Ugh. Yeah, 34 fake felonies. So, yeah, I just feel like it's going to be so much better. I mean, we have Maha now, too. That probably wouldn't have happened before. Like, all these people that are joining Trump anyways have joined him because of how extreme the left has been and how bad the Democrats have been. And everyone's just sick of it. You know, Bobby, RFK Jr., he probably normally wouldn't tag team up with a Republican team. But now it's like, well, geez, I sure don't want to be with them Democrats because they're not really the type of Democrats that I'm used to. So now he's siding with Republicans. Trump. Same as Elon. Elon would have been a Democrat, but now the left has gone so far extreme left that, like, his moderate left is now like a moderate right. So now he's with Trump. And, yeah, even the other ones that have jumped ship. You have, was it Tulsi Gabbard? She jumped ship. Actually, I don't know if she jumped ship. She might still be a Democrat, but I know she's not happy with the party at all. I'm not sure if she jumped ship and became Republican or what, but she's something with Trump now. She's like, the head of the CIA or something? And so, yeah, you get all these extra people, if you will, that normally wouldn't even be on our team. But now they are, because they're just sick of how ridiculous the left has been, the Democrats have been. And I also think, in the grand scheme of things, that Biden being so terrible, it just helps make the people realize about this. And I mean, look, there was a red wave for Trump's election. He got all the swing states in the House and the Senate and the executive branch are all red. And that's awesome. And I think that maybe this will keep going. I mean, the Democrats don't seem to have learned anything from their loss. They're still going with their dumb, psychotic narratives. Hitler, racism, Trump, Russian puppet. It's like, wow, you guys lost bigly and you still don't get it. All right, congratulations on hopefully losing again in 2028 and losing in the midterms in 2026. Like, keep being dumb. But yeah, because of their massive failures, I feel like this allowed more people to have their eyes opened. Their eyes opened. They're awake now, and that's good. Same as, so I feel like if Trump won twice in a row, sure, it would have been a great past 4 years, but I don't think as much awesome stuff would have happened in that term as will happen in this term. Also, what happens next? Then Trump, right now, Biden's term's over, so that means Trump's term would be over. So, like, right now, we would be starting with something terrible. Maybe Biden now, or Harris, even worse. Or who knows? Maybe it would be another Republican, and things would just keep going off of Trump's coattails, and it would be going great. Who knows? But, yeah, I just feel like having that absolute failure just allowed a lot of people to see what the Democrats are all about, how they don't care about the people, how they all hate America. They care more about Ukraine and other countries and stuff. Wide open borders and all that nonsense. F America, we're going to worry about Ukraine's security, but who cares about our own? And, yeah, so it could have played out good for a long time, you know what I mean? Like for 2028, maybe whoever the Republican nominee ends up being, a lot of people say Vance, but who knows? Then that guy can win and just keep this train going because people aren't going to want Democrats. As long as Democrats keep being as stupid as they have been, which they are currently doing, still being brain-dead idiots, then it might slim down their chances of winning. They lost before by acting like this. Why would all of a sudden they win? Why would people be like, you know what, I actually want that now? So yeah, could be a or not could be, is a huge blessing in disguise that Biden won. Sure, it was terrible, but it kind of paid off. Oh, that's what my third blessing in disguise was. Good, I just remembered. Last minute, too. Then my third blessing in disguise would have been my first real girlfriend. So I say first real because I had a couple of girlfriends before her, but they were just like, you know, starter chicks. Maybe you smooch them, but that's about it. We never really slept over. We didn't, you know, do too much else. It was just like we'd go to a restaurant together and text each other. And, oh, that's my girlfriend. My daughter's mother was my first real girlfriend, and we were actually together. We went places, did things, like had a solid enough relationship. But anyways, the relationship sucked. I mean, she tried to be super controlling. She tried to dictate when I was supposed to see her. Like, I wanted to have a more of a free-flowing relationship. You know, see each other whenever it worked out good. And she wanted to have a schedule, like, no, we're going to see each other on this day from this time to this time, and this day from this time to this time. And seriously, that's how it was. She had a schedule for when we were supposed to see each other. And there was times where we were doing nothing, and I'd be like, can I go home? No, it's not time to leave yet. Oh, I'll add more time if you can keep asking me if you can go home. And it was just like, what? It was a terrible relationship. She didn't get along with my mom either, so that just made things even worse. It was awkward at home to have to, you know, deal with my mom and what she would say and think. And it also was just awkward to be with her, knowing that this was like a betrayal to my family, which obviously would take priority over some dumb girlfriend. And yeah, it was a bad relationship. We were together for basically like a year exactly. And for most of it, it was bad. I think the only part that was decent was over the summer of from when we would have broken up. I think we broke up in 2011. So that summer was actually decent. And ironically, it's because I put some stuff in her storage and then I ended up taking it back. And when I took it back, she saw that as like a threat, like I was going to be leaving her soon, and she was worried about that. And the only reason I even got my stuff back was because I used to ask her all the time, can I get my stuff from your storage? Can I get my stuff? Because that was another thing. She used to always threaten it. She would put ads out on Facebook for my stuff, and people would respond. And it was like, what are you doing? This is my stuff. But anytime we got into an argument, that's what she'd do. Like, try to sell my stuff on me. And it was like, what is the matter with you? Just because we're fighting, you don't go and sell my stuff. She never did actually sell any of it, but she always made the ads, and people would respond. She'd show me it, and I'd be like, are you kidding me right now? So yeah, I'd always ask to try to get my stuff back, and she'd always be difficult. No, because then you're going to leave me. Like, she always tried to keep that as, like, she'd hold on to my stuff as a way to, like, have power over me and, like, force me to stay with her, which was just weird. It was almost like she hated me, how much she treated me terribly, but then she wanted me to stay. Makes no sense. But anyways, one day I asked, and she finally said, yeah, I'm at the storage now, actually, dealing with my own stuff. So if you can make it down here while I'm here, then you can take your stuff. Well, here's the thing. I don't think she thought that I was going to be able to make it. I don't know what she thought my schedule was for that day, but when I texted her, can I get my stuff? It was after work, and I was just sitting in my car. So when she said, if you can make it down here while I'm still here, I fired my car up and shot right down there. And yeah, I don't think she was expecting it, because she did seem surprised when I showed up. She was like, oh, you're actually here. And I was like, well, yeah, you said I can get my stuff if I come now. And so, well, her unit was open, and she said I could get my stuff. So I had my car right there, and I started getting my stuff. I only had 4 boxes in there. And, like, when I got down to the last one, she was like, can you at least just leave that one? Can you leave one? And I said, okay, I can leave one. There was one that was like a junk box. It had some stuff I cared about, but for the most part, it was just random stuff. So if she, like, threw that away on me or sold it, I wouldn't really care. So I was like, yeah, you can keep this one. And she was like, and she knew that was my junk box. And she's like, this is one you don't really care about, then. I said, that's okay. It's still one of my boxes. You asked for one. I was like, so you can have this one. She's like, but that one you don't care about. And, you know, the whole point was because she wanted to have that leverage over me. If I left her with a box that she knew I didn't care about, there's no leverage, there's no power. So, anyways, she ended up letting me just take it because she knew there was no power to it. And so, yeah, over the summer, she did treat me way better. And I think it's because, again, for the 100th time, she felt like she lost her power. That was what she had as a bargaining chip, to treat me like crap all the time. Oh, well, I can be rude to him. He's going to stick around because he knows I'm not going to give him his stuff. Otherwise, if he leaves me, because that's what she used to always say too. Oh, well, you can leave me, but I'm not giving you your stuff back, which I thought was dumb anyways. You don't want my stuff. My stuff you don't care about. It was like video games and stuff. You don't care about that. She always said she hated video games. Still does to this day. And so it was just like, why are you going to keep my stuff? Just to be a dick? Like, you don't want it. Now it's like something that you have to deal with too. If you break up with me and don't let me get my stuff, now it's something you have to deal with because it's taking space in your storage. Do you really want to have to deal with my stuff, whether it's throwing it away or selling it or something? Or you could just let me get it, like, hello, and then you don't have to deal with it. I'm gone. My stuff is gone. But no, when you're being absolutely psychotic and not thinking about anything other than how to be as difficult to somebody as you can be, you don't think things through properly. So anyways, yeah, oh, and she used to say that if I went to the police to try to get my stuff, oh, they're not going to give it to you because it's in my unit. And it was like, that was one thing, too, I always hated. She always acted like she knew everything about the law, and I didn't know anything about the law. I didn't get in trouble. My family didn't get in trouble, so I didn't really know. And I was like, maybe. I mean, she had an arrest record. She was arrested 3 times, so she knows what it's like. And her family's had interactions with the police and stuff. Me, never. So I don't know. I'm like, maybe she's right. I don't know. Well, turns out, after thinking about it now, she's probably not right. If I went to the police and said that, there's stuff in a storage unit that's mine, can somebody help me get it because she won't give it to me, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm sure there's text that I could have shown that she would say they're not going to give it to you. I could be like, look, here's some proof right here that I have stuff in there. She's openly said she won't give it to me. There's also, I could prove what was in the boxes. I could be like, look, can an officer just go in there and I can tell you exactly what's in the box? Each box, you can describe the box to me and I can tell you what's in there. One of the boxes, I think, even had magazines in it with my name and address on there. So all I'd have to do is pull out my license, and that would prove that that's my box. My name and my address are on it. And all my boxes were the same. So if, just by, like, transitory circumstances, if one box has my stuff in it, then all the boxes that look the same should have my stuff in it. So I'm sure I could have got my stuff, but, according to her, nope, I wouldn't. The police would not cooperate, blah, 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 because it's in my storage unit, and blah, 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 blah. But anyways, yeah, she sucked. It was a terrible relationship. Like I said, we only had, like, a good summer. 3 months out of a whole year were decent. The rest, ugh. She ruined my college graduation by just being so hostile and just, ugh. It was so embarrassing and terrible, and a day that should have been great for me, she made terrible. And it just sucks. Like, and that's something I can't ever get back. You know what I mean? It's one time. One and done. Like, that graduation was completely ruined by her. Even my graduation photo, like, I didn't smile nice and happy because it was just awkward. It was weird. I knew how my parents felt. I know how I was feeling because of her. So I just did, like, a sort of awkward semi-smile. And it's just like, sometimes I look at the picture and I'm like, man, this should have been such a better picture. I should have actually been able to be truly happy. Like, hey, I graduated. Cool. I can get a good job now. Instead, it was just like, this is not going as well as I'd like. But anyways, super long story short, even though my relationship with her absolutely sucked, she ended up getting pregnant. And at first, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be tied down to this broad forever. Well, at least for 18 years. And like, that just did not seem pleasant. But my kid's awesome. She's my best friend. I look forward to hanging out with her all the time. She's been awesome her entire life, too. When she was 2, she never had any of the terrible 2s. That's like a thing. Oh, the terrible 2s. No, she was great. So I thought, is it going to be delayed? Is it going to be terrible 3s? Nope. Great 3s. Great 4s. She's always been awesome. She's always been smart. Like, her and I get along so well. We have so many dumb little inside jokes together. I look forward to all my time with her. I think she looks forward to all her time with me, too. It's just been awesome. And it's just been like, wow. Like, a horrible relationship ended up spawning probably one of the best relationships I'll ever have. You know what I mean? Me and my daughter. And I'm like, man. Like, that's definitely a situation of, what have I been saying? A blessing in disguise, for sure. Man, that year that I was with her sucked. But, a lifetime with my kid is, so far it's been great, and hopefully it continues to be great. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I just think, like, maybe when she's older, what if she moves away or something? Then that would just be kind of sad and depressing and all this. But otherwise, you know, it just forever of awesomeness with her. All spawned from one of the worst relationships ever. So, yeah, that's my third one. So yeah, anyways, like I said in the beginning, just kind of a random pointless video. I mean, I guess all of these are kind of pointless, but this one was like extra pointless. But it's just some stuff I was thinking about the other day, and I was like, I could make this a full video. This actually ended up being a lot longer than I thought it would be. And so, yeah. So sometimes bad things might happen, but you know what? They could be good in the long run. You just don't know it yet. And yeah, that's all I got. So thanks for, I'd say, checking this out, but you're not really checking anything out other than some 3 words looking at you. So thanks for listening to me, if you did. And until next time, I said see ya.